That if you're a beginning investor, that you must see. But before we get into it, I ask you to please subscribe and like so that this video can spread to more people. So what we're going to talk about today is my 17-year-old son asked me a question, and I was actually super proud of him. He said, "Hey Dad, I'm ready to get started investing. So what do I need to do?" So I decided I would make a video on it instead of just telling him and then me and him will follow behind and do all these things in this video. We'll do it together. So the first thing that I would do is I would open up a brokerage account. I use Charles Schwab, but there's many brokers out there. A lot of them, they can do the main thing that you need done, and that's buying or selling stocks. A lot of them will sell options. I will also make sure that you can sell bonds and T-bills in them. But one of the main reasons that I like Charles Schwab is I like their research that they do. Not so much Charles Schwab research, but they bring in outside companies that does research, like the S&P. They bring in their research. They bring in Morningstar's research. And Morningstar is a service that you have to pay for. But I'm able to read their reports on individual companies because Charles Schwab has some type of contract with them. So that's the main benefit. But what I will add is that if you're trading with a company and if you have to pay to trade, you shouldn't have to pay. Majority of brokers are now free, which is a huge benefit. When I first started investing, 30 something years ago, it was, you had to pay. It was $29. So back at that time, I was not a new young soldier. I'd probably been in like 3 years, 2 years. So I had to pay like $29. So, if you only got $100, $150, $200 to invest, back then you may not want to pay $29 to trade. So let's say if I bought a stock for $100, just to get back, I would have to be back up 30% just to get my money back from the trade. So now trades are free, which would be beneficial to everybody out there. So the second thing that you should do is, and I encourage you to do, is think about what you and your friends like to do, can't go without. And we talked about it a little bit already. We talked about the first thing he brought up was food. I don't like grocery store. I'm investing in grocery stores, so I kind of eliminate that. And I really don't like food stocks, like Heinz. I really don't like those. And the reason why I don't like them is some of the big stores like Walmart, the quality of store branded food has come up a lot. And so like when I'm in Walmart, I notice that most people buy Walmart brands. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like food stocks. But we can look at things like Starbucks. We can look at things like Dunkin' Donuts. We can look at McDonald's. We can look at any other restaurants or something like that you might want to invest in that you might find to be a good investment. So whatever your friends enjoy, and they actually really love Starbucks, they really love Dunkin' Donuts. So that may be an investment that he would make. Then the second thing we talked about, we know you're real big into your cell phone. What are some of the things that you do on your cell phone? He will not get no other phone other than Apple. And I'm sure a lot of his friends won't get no other phone other than Apple. So that's one place that I would start at. And then also what apps or what things do you do on your device that you think will make good long-term investments that you and your friends can't go without? Of course, he's on Instagram. He's on X, formerly Twitter, which right now you can't invest in Twitter because Elon Musk took it private. So those are pretty much the applications that he's on. So that's the first thing I would do. What do I do that's important to me because he's 17? What do I do that's important to me that you see that's going to have a long-term sustainable business later on into the future? And so once he decides which one that he wants to do, let's say he may choose Apple. So the third thing that I would do, and this is not idea, but I would do it, I would go buy a stock. So if I decided Apple was a stock that I wanted to own, I wouldn't even care about the price so much as far as valuation, which is something he doesn't know anything about researching valuation on stock. So I would buy it. I know for me, when I bought my first stock, I can still remember, it was Americube. It was the phone company in Cleveland, Ohio. I was stationed in Cleveland, Ohio at the time. I was doing the same thing. I was looking around. Up until that point, I'd only really invested in mutual funds, but I decided I wanted to branch off on my own. So I looked around, seeing what was important to me. At this time, cell phones didn't even exist. So I thought, oh wow, I'll invest in a telephone company. I mean, we have to have that. They had DSL at the time. So I thought that would be a good investment. And it actually was a pretty good investment. They ended up getting bought out by, it was either Verizon, I think it was Verizon. They ended up being bought out by Verizon. So I did make money on that. But there was no better joy to me as a young capitalist than to buy a stock and watch it go up and down. Now, with doing that, he may make money, he may not make money, but he will already be investing and he will already see the joy of buying and selling the stock, watching it go up and down. Especially let's say he buy Apple, I believe it's kind of down right now. I think it's at like 180. Let's say if he buy it now and it goes to 200, because he don't have to pay no commission fees. If it goes to 200, he'll make $20. And that's one really good way to start off investing and not the way to get started. So that would be the second and third thing that I would do. The fourth thing I would do is I published a book called The Culmination, the Risk-Free Method. And I would start with that. And what that'll do for you is, it's only 70 pages. I will read through that, and what that does, it directs you into different ways, different material that you can read to go into investing. And we also have a strategy in there when we buy T-bills, buy the SPY, QQQ, and we come up with some methodology of when you should buy it. But the most important part is that that'll branch you off into areas like reading The Intelligent Investor, like reading The Wealth of Nations. In there we talk about, the railroad lady, that made money off of railroads and what her investment strategy was. So we go over different things like that. That'll get you started on some educational and tell you where else to go. So then the fifth thing I would do is I would pick up The Intelligent Investor. And when you haven't when you're brand new to investing like how he is, reading Intelligent Investor, the main thing about The Intelligent Investor, it'll teach you some of the fundamental principles of how to evaluate a business. But it don't go into real big detail. But the main thing, it gets your mind set in the right way when to buy and when to sell. So basically, when stocks go down, it teaches you not to act emotional. And then when stocks go down is when you can find bargains. And then when stocks go up is when you may want to sell. So it kind of changes your mindset. It kind of lets you know when stocks go down, it's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. Because if you get a stock in a company that you really, really like, you prefer to pay a cheaper price. One of the things that Warren Buffett says is you shouldn't buy your groceries the way you buy perfume. You should buy them the way you buy your groceries. So you're going to look, buying groceries, you're going to look for bargains. With perfume, all you care about is the smell. So that'll be the second thing that'll be the fifth thing I would have him do, is start reading Intelligent Investor. Because he's new to it, he'll have me around to ask me questions, but a lot of y'all out there may not have that. So it's a book that you might have to read kind of slow. Then the sixth thing I would do is I would read Security Analysis, which is also written, Intelligent Investor is written by Ben Graham, and also the Security Analysis is written by Ben Graham. And what this book teaches you a lot more of the fundamentals and how to completely evaluate a business. It goes over balance sheets, it goes over income statements. So it'll break down all those different financial statements. It'll teach you how to read some of the small print businesses, how to disclose information. So that would be the sixth thing I would have them do. And then the seventh and last thing that I'll talk about today is The Wealth of Nations. I probably read Wealth of Nations 5 times, a book written by Adam Smith. But what makes that book so important is it teaches you about American capitalism, which he is the father of American capitalism. So to go over why things go on in our society, in the marketplace and how they work. And then I wouldn't even read, at that point, I wouldn't read no other. I would focus on those 3 books mainly. And after that, during that time, he can still be investing. He could be able to analyze if he made a mistake when he bought his first share. Let's say if it was Apple, did he buy it too low? Did he buy it too high? But he'd be participating and he would have had fun, and it would just be, that money would just be a learning lesson. And if it went to 170 and went down to 150 and you got to see your stock go up and down, you're participating. And that was a real joy for me to really be participating in the American capitalistic system. So I just repeat real quick, the first thing I would have him do is open up a brokerage account. Second thing I would have him do is I have him look around and see what things that that him and his friends need as far as businesses, and come up and pick one of those things to invest in. And besides that, if you don't, all you got to do is go to like Google, put in Apple stock, and the stock quote will come up. So you're learning from there. Then I would have him read The Culmination, which is a book that we wrote that'll give him lay down the foundation of how he wants to go about doing his research. Then I would have him read The Intelligent Investor, Security Analysis, and The Wealth of Nations. And good luck to you investing.